Hello, everybody. My name is Jairus Copeland. Welcome to the latest episode of In Need of Attention. Today will be a fun one, an anticipated one for me. I feel like what I'm going to talk about today is something I've been raring to get out. I've mentioned in a couple different episodes I've had my interviews with Jairus Copeland. Definitely go check that out. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places, as well as in my interview with Rebecca Shakespeare Armstrong. Just gotten a ton of, good feedback. People really enjoyed it. Definitely go check that out as well. Same places, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's all about how to become the person I want to be when I know that I'm not essentially that person yet, right? Today is going to be interesting because I started recording and I don't have a drink. I'm eyeing a Soda Stream bottle. I'm just going to grab it. This is a part of the episode. Sorry. Just gonna set that. We're gonna set that right there. It's an original. Anyway, the onset of this whole thing felt really in line with the show because for me, this is meant to be a safe space. We believe that there is more for people, better is available, and we're stubborn in our belief that there is more perspective to gain. And so, as I have said that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, not only do I believe it, but I actually have to practice it, right? And so today is an example of areas where I don't feel that. Areas where I don't feel like there's more for me. Areas where I don't feel like I can always be better. And areas where I don't always know what perspective to gain, to add, or what source to kind of go to. And it all kind of has to do with just internally what I believe about myself and historically how I've handled certain situations, right? And so me and my wife, we're currently talking about what would it look like to have a child. We're not trying to have a child, but we're just talking about it, right? We've been married for over a year now, and we've just been talking about, names, right? And our house situation and what would rooms look like? What would this look like? We have a dog. How would he be with children? As we've been talking about it, I internally have just been really reflective. I've been really thinking about myself, right? And this idea of, am I the man who can be the father I want to be? Since I was a little child, I've always said, I want to be a dad. If I don't live my dreams professionally, if I don't do travel, all the things you could want in your life, I want to be a dad. I want to be a husband. And I'm a husband currently, trying to be better. Promise, Sarah. And when it comes to being a dad, I really had to go inward and go, okay, but why? Why do I want to be a dad? What would make me not just say that, but then do the things necessary to make it an actuality, a reality? And what I've really thought about is it a matter of me just feeling like I didn't get certain things I wanted, even though I had my dad in my life? Or is it a genuine desire to help someone grow and be shaped in a positive way, in a way that would allow them to be best prepared for the pains and hardships that life can bring? And as I've just been reflecting and going inward and all this stuff, I kind of stumbled across the answer being, I don't think I'm the man I need to be in order to be the father I want to be. And that's been really hard to take in. Welcome to A Need of Intention, right? Hot start right into the mess of kind of where my head has been these last couple of weeks. And I started just thinking. I started thinking and reflecting about what are other times in my life that I was one way and needed to be another. I was one way and needed and wanted to be something else. And I started thinking about all the things I've done either to make people think I was something I wasn't, or all the things I've done to cover and hide who I actually am. Right? I'm dying of thirst. I'm so sorry. I don't have a mic stand today because my wife, and I quote, said, get your own stand. I'm tired of you taking the table out of the living room, and now I can't get it open, so now I just look stupid on the internet. opening a bottle between my legs. It's fine. This episode isn't sponsored by SodaStream, but if you're listening, you know what I mean. I was thinking about those things and going inward about times that has happened, and I think about when I wanted to get married, right? So, like I said, I want to be a dad. I want to be a husband. There was a portion of time where I was trying to become a husband, right? And so I was thinking, how do I become the person I need to be to do that? And I just started changing where I went and what I was doing there, right? It wasn't that it was some crazy, 180, 360, whatever the math is. I never know why I say that because I don't know how it actually goes. But it was just a matter of, hey, am I putting myself in the places? Am I putting myself in the positions with my decisions to find the type of person I would want to be married to? I don't think so. And so as I tried to change my habits, I tried to change where I went, I tried to change the things I was just consuming, I found myself in more and more scenarios and settings where as I would date people, it became more serious. And eventually I met my wife. That sort of thing. And so the crux of today's episode is all about how to mold ourselves into the person we want to be when we don't reflect that when we look in the mirror. And so we have to start kind of on the flip side. We have to start in the area and the place with talking about what we do when we don't like who we are, right? So when we look in the mirror, we don't like who we are and we want to be someone else. We want to be a better version, a version that has access to more, a version who has a higher capacity. One thing we do is we like to hide who we really are. As I thought about this concept and kind of worked through it in my brain and wrote some things out, I thought of the kind of analogy of makeup, right? So some makeup we use to cover things up, to hide. We would say, hey, I have these blemishes, I have these things in my life that I don't necessarily love, but you don't need to see them. And we put on makeup, we cover them up, and we'd like to appear just a little bit better than we actually are, right? It's the idea of like, oh, they look so good from the outside, but if you only knew what was really going on. And there have been so many scenarios in my life where I looked one way to so many people, but on the inside I was going, man, it's only a matter of time till they find out who I really am, till they find out what I actually did. And when that comes, I am finished. And for the person who is scared of being found out, for the person who's afraid of the truth coming to the light, to their lies being caught, and to having to honestly just face the consequences of any actions or inactions you've taken, the only way to experience freedom and relief is to be forthcoming. Not just honest, not just when someone asks you, but like volunteer the information. And I think what you'll find is the situation that's your biggest fear, the thing you're most afraid of, will be the thing that frees you internally and externally to actually be the person you want to be. That's the experience I've had. The things I was the most afraid of, the things I was petrified of, that if this happened, it would ruin my life. I don't even know what I'm going to do with myself. All happened. Right? I found myself off of the church staff I thought I'd always be on. One of my biggest fears. My wife and I had to walk through me being addicted to porn and struggling with what that did to my mind. I was terrified of somebody finding out about that. When I used to have a alcohol and weed dependency, I didn't want people to know the extent it was until I found myself in the back of an ambulance being driven off, my mother and sisters waiting for me at the emergency room going, is he okay? Is he going to be all right? Is he going to live? And on the end of those situations, where I was my most fearful, where I was my most scared, I actually found out more about myself and became a better person because of every single one. And so when it comes to trying to cover ourselves up, when it comes to trying to hide what happened, there's actually freedom on the other end of being forthcoming. The other thing we do when we are trying to cover something up or maybe we're not the person we want to be or need to be for a certain situation, is we put on makeup that just accentuates all the good things, right? Makes us look more beautiful, makes us look more kind of, it just highlights the good stuff. It's the keeping up with the Joneses. It's the resume. It's the joke of like, every family with multiple kids has like the successful kid and then the good-hearted kid, right? So the parents, when they talk about them, the successful kid, you use like nouns to describe their success, versus the other kid who's less successful, you use adjectives, right? So like I'll use me and my sister, right? So my sister Micaiah, it's like, oh, Micaiah has a PhD. Micaiah is a therapist. Micaiah has done extensive research in the mental health field. Micaiah is a professor, right? All these things she actually is. Then they talk about me. They're like, oh, Jairus he's such a good listener. Yeah, he cares a lot. He feels so much. He's funny. He's really funny, right? And it's this juxtaposition of like concrete, specific things that are accomplishments versus things that are much more characteristics, much more specific to the type of person you are. And when we are insecure, we feel inferior because we might not have all the achievements, or we find ourselves in the place where we have all the achievements and no substance beyond it. People don't actually check on us or care about us. They just ask us, how's work? When they say how you're doing, they're not actually asking you how you're doing. We feel like the only way to keep up is to keep portraying what people want to see and what is helpful to them. And the value we have is only as far as what we can do for others. And so why not give in? Why not give them what they're looking for? Why not give them what they need? And that's success. And that's someone to talk about and talk to. Because if they're not doing well, then how are any of us doing, right? And we put on this makeup, we accentuate ourselves, and we make ourselves look the best we possibly can for the purpose of finding someone to be with, pleasing our parents, pleasing other people, and it leaves us feeling empty. It leaves us feeling like, if only I could be who I actually am. And what we believe is that who I actually am isn't actually valuable to the people I work for or the people I come from. And so we just continue to highlight the positives, the accolades, the accomplishments. The third type of makeup. So we wear makeup that covers up. We wear makeup that accentuates. And then the third is sometimes people just make stuff up. Like they literally just make stuff up. That as they're going through their life, as they have these experiences, to actually face the truth, the things they've done, the things they've said, the role they played, they can't handle it. And so they literally will change the way they remember, perceive, and have experienced prior experiences so that they can live with themselves, right? They dissociate completely, and they separate themselves from the reality of a situation. And I'll be the first person to admit I've just made stuff up, whether it's verbally and I lied or in my head of just like how it went. Because to face my actions, to face my words, to face the consequences of what I've done felt too damning. It felt too shameful. And it felt like something that I just couldn't face. Not in that time or maybe ever. And I think all of us could admit that there are things in our life that we've done wrong and we weren't held accountable for. There were things that we have said that wasn't right, and we didn't face any of the consequences. And there were occasions and experiences that have internally shaped us and externally decided our behaviors that we're unwilling to acknowledge. And if you find yourself in the place where you're just making things up, you find yourself in the place where you don't know how to face it, I would say welcome to the club. That's being human, right? Is being uncomfortable, not knowing what to do, where to go, where to turn, and finding yourself in a place of not just complete uncertainty, but finding yourself in a place of just deciding, yeah, who I actually am just isn't it. And that's a hard place to be. And that's a place where, as I'm communicating this, I'm finding myself is, man, I don't know if I'm the person I need to be. And if I'm comfortable with that, then I can just stay here. But the reality is, to live the life I want to live, to be the person I want to be, to have the things that I want to hold, I have to change. I have to change my habits. I have to change my words. I have to change my attitude. And I have to start with what I see in the mirror, my reflection. How do I mold myself into the man I'm meant to be? How do you mold yourself into the person you want to be? I think the first step is you have to acknowledge and accept the truth, the reality of the situation. This is void of the emotion. I know I'm the one saying that, but it's void of the emotion. Here's the facts. Here's what happened. I did this. They said that. This was the response. This was the action because of that. What are the facts and the reality of the situation? And once I've accepted that, and once I can acknowledge that, from there, I have to adapt. I have to adapt my habits. So we want to acknowledge and accept the truth, and then we want to adapt our habits. What am I doing? And how did that contribute to the result I found? For me, I mentioned talking about getting married and different stuff, but I'll make it more in the moment right now. As I reflect on trying to become the father I want to be, I found myself going, I am very, what's the word? I'm very squirmish when it comes to authority. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like being told what to do. And I found that I don't like being told what to do by other men. And I think the crux of that is I've had experiences where I felt like men who had authority over me didn't have my best interests. They had their own. And I have enough of that experience to go, hey, I don't think this is a one-off. I think this is a pattern. I think this is just like how it is. And I've noticed because of that, I am not very forthcoming or very accountable to many men. And I have to go out of my way to form and develop friendships with people that I respect and trust, who are older than me, who know more than me. And I have to go out of my way to be honest with them from the jump. I can't wait for them to ask. I can't wait for them to just force sensitive no or Holy Spirit activate it into their brains. I have to be upfront and tell them. And it's something I'm growing in. It's something I'm working on. And I have to recognize that in my fear of accountability and how I've connected that in my brain to essentially compromising everything I've worked for, I have to recognize that that's not the truth. That my actions have consequences, but accountability isn't a one-to-one to compromise. And maybe compromise isn't the worst thing. Because if I'm compromising, it doesn't mean I'm sacrificing. I'm just like changing a little bit, right? Like this idea of compromise is scary because in our heads or our experience, it feels like, oh, if I have to compromise, I'm giving in. I'm giving up. And then the reality is compromise is there's a degree to which we're going to do what I do and what I want. And there's a degree to which we're going to do what you want to do and what you want. And as those two things are married together, we might find that we both got our way. We both felt heard. We both feel like this was the right thing to do. And we both benefit. I think compromise is something that is tricky. I think In my experience, women don't like the word compromise because it means men are just going to step on them. I think in my experience, a lot of men don't like compromise because they think it means that they'll get less respect because they didn't win. And I think at the end of the day, if there were more people who relented more, doubled down less, and were less worried about negotiating the perfect deal and getting their way and winning, I think a lot more people would not just enjoy their lives, but they would look back and go, I think actually I'm okay. And I think I'm more of the person that I'd like to be. And I think coming from the place where we can acknowledge and accept the truth, where we can adapt our habits, we can allow ourselves to compromise, we have to at some point be able to take an inventory and just keep reflecting, keep looking in the mirror and going, oh, I'm doing better. I'm not as bad. I've improved. I'm becoming whole again. And it's this thing where it's not a matter of becoming complete, right? Like there's not a point in time where I'm just going to be the man I need to be the perfect father, the perfect husband, the best podcaster, right? I'm sitting here. It's a hot, sticky, humid July day. I'm wearing a knitted shirt and pants because podcasting life coach guru preachers can't wear shorts. I'm wearing shoes in my house. I could probably get away with not wearing shoes. But it's this idea that the stakes, it's this idea that the expectations, they will remain, right? The pressure, it's constant. The pain is momentary. As we're experiencing the pain of a moment, as we're experiencing the pain of our reality, it's going to change. And we have the power to change it. We have the power to go inward. We have the power to adapt. We have the power to reflect. And at the end of the day, I think when it comes to the person we want to be, freedom is the goal. I've said that a couple times in different ways, but I was talking to someone recently and they're very positive, which is a good thing. They're very positive. They have a positive outlook on everything, even when it's unrealistic. And they're going through a relational hardship. That feels like such a weird word, but they're going through this tough part of a relationship they're in right now. And I was on the phone with them. We had probably like an hour plus conversation on FaceTime, and they started to acknowledge what they did and the pain that it's caused. And they started to cry. And as they were crying and explaining not only the personal pain they're experiencing, but the pain they inflicted and how that consequence for the first time is causing them to go inward and see that the person they wanted to hurt the least, they not only hurt, and that they feel like their life has completely changed. And at the end of it, they go, but it's okay. It'll work out. Everything's fine. And they begin to wipe away the tears and kind of put a smile back on. I go, hey, it's okay though if everything isn't fine. And in fact, if everything isn't fine, you might find your way on the road to okay faster. And they started to cry again, and they said, you're right. Everything's not okay. But that doesn't mean it won't be. And I think that's the hope for someone listening to this today is you might find yourself not being the person you want to be just yet. You might find yourself in a situation or on the end of something that has cost you peace, has cost you what you love to do, has cost you the person you love. And while things are hard, while things aren't okay, you can change that. And you can mold yourself to be the person you need to be, whether that be for the next job, the next relationship, the next situation. You can change that. And that's intrinsic to this whole podcast, right? Is the hope and the belief that there's more for you. I actually think that. I actually believe that. And I think that and I believe that because I was that person who didn't believe that for myself. And when I actually had to do the hard work of facing my decisions and the consequences of it, I found that the person I actually am in my heart isn't that far from where I want to be. It just takes a little bit of effort on my part. And this life that I aspire to, and the goals I have, and the milestones I want to hit, and whether that be professionally or personally, to get to that place, I need to be a better person. I just need to be a better husband. I need to make better decisions. I need to be better in the way that I respond to people. When I feel disrespected, when I feel frustrated, when I feel happy, right? It's not that I don't get angry. It's not that I don't get pissed. It's not that I don't respond negatively, but this like more regulated version of who I am. It's not that I don't allow myself to feel. It's that in my response, I'm being more considerate of other people. And I believe that I am a better person now and can continue to get better. And I believe that for you too. And when I say that I'm stubborn in my belief that there's more perspective to gain, I'm not just saying something that sounds kind of trendy or sounds like something that could be easily repeatable and sound good on your ears. I'm saying that because I've been really hard-hearted, and I've been very, very, very convinced that I was right. And I was completely wrong. I was completely wrong. I had it completely wrong. I didn't do the right thing. I thought one thing and just completely missed the mark. I had great intentions. I didn't have a good impact. And I found myself in situations where I couldn't claim I'm a good person. I had to claim I did the wrong thing. And I'm really sorry. And I hope you know that. And I hope going forward, I know I broke trust, but I'm willing to do what it takes to rebuild that. And you can choose not to accept it. You can choose to view me a different way, but all I can do is continue to push forward, to present myself fully, represent myself fully, and if anything, continue to grow, right? I'm presenting myself this way. I'm going to continue to represent myself until you can see that change. And in the moment that change is either recognized or dismissed, I'm better for it either way. If you find yourself in the spot where you feel like you need to wear makeup to cover things up, you find yourself in the spot where you feel like you need to put on makeup to accentuate all the good things about you, if you find yourself in a spot where you just have to make stuff up in order to be accepted, know that who you actually are is much closer to what you want than anything you're going to portray. And for the person out there experiencing that, just know freedom is on the way. You just have to start looking for it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Ladies and gentlemen, that is In Need of Attention. My name is Jairus Copeland. I'll see you next time.